tonight, to drag the past out into the light. We're one, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other.
Hello, Christine. Welcome everybody to the Chit-Chat Cafe. And this is one of a series of online events that we're doing to share information and find out about well-being generally. And Christine is the chair. Christine Lissoni is the chair of Cruse, South Hampshire and Bournemouth area. So welcome, Christine. It's really good to see you again. And so I just wanted to start by asking how you personally got involved with Cruse in your role. Your role as chair.
The short answer is frustration.
Oh, was it?
I've been a volunteer seeing clients and I've been a trainer, but I just felt that the volunteers were not being valued enough.
Okay.
And that's where I start from. If you value your volunteers, then they will do what is needed. So that's what I decided to do.
So you became a volunteer first yourself?
Oh, yes.
How did that come about?
My father had died and I sort of got interested in grief.
Okay.
And so when I stopped work, I thought, how do I want to spend my time? And this attracted me.
Okay, all right. And so how long has that been? How long have you been involved?
Everybody knows the number of years and I don't, probably about 15.
Oh, so a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you describe the organisation, Cruse? Because it's a national organisation, isn't it? But you're part of a local group.
Yes, I think it's the only national bereavement organisation. Its mission really is to be there for people in what can be the hardest time of their life.
Okay.
In fact, the strapline, because I just looked at it, you don't have to deal with it alone.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it might be information, it might be talking to somebody, but also they do a lot of campaigning as well, like getting better bereavement leave, for instance, and things like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And how is it kind of structured? Because you've talked about volunteers. Is that the main way that the organisation operates?
Absolutely, yes. Above the organisation, we have a small group of paid people who do admin and strategy and policy and so on. And then we have a central organisation, if you like, looking at mission and so on.
Right. Okay.
But it's the volunteers that do the work.
Okay. And how many volunteers do you have?
In our area, we have 59.
Okay.
That's about average for each area. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So can I get you to talk a little bit more about grief and loss, and maybe, what would you say about the experience? What's the experience of people with grief? Yeah.
Well, those of you who are listening to this will know the most important thing to say about grief is that it is unique. Everybody experiences it differently. And some people may have heard, it's not talked about so much now because there's no proof, but the stages of grief that people go through, and it isn't like that. It is unique. Some people cry a lot. Some people get on their bikes and raise money for the illness their person died of, something like that. I think it is hard. I think it's one of the hardest things that people go through. They say grief is the price you pay for love.
Right, yes. It's the other side of it, isn't it?
Yeah. But people do get through. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, I think it allows them to treasure the memories they had of the person.
Right.
And I also think in many cases, it gives us an appreciation of life.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think people find the hardest to cope with in terms of grief?
That's a difficult question because everything is unique.
Right.
Bereaved by suicide is always hard because they don't know why the person did it.
Right.
And the other thing that crops up a lot is people feeling guilty.
Okay.
And rather than trying to argue them out of it, we just let them talk about it. And
yes.
Yeah.
And are people angry sometimes?
That's interesting, because sometimes they are angry, but they don't realise it. And sometimes
Right.
they're angry with the wrong person.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have heard that, I've heard, people felt angry that, someone's died
Yes.
close to them and they've been left,
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, what kind of support do you think helps people through the grieving process? Because you can't kind of do away with it, can you? It's something that people experience.
Yeah.
So how could people help themselves, or how could family or friends help them?
We can talk in a minute about what Cruse does, but in terms of family and friends, this is about acknowledging their grief.
Right.
I'm sorry that John, whoever died.
Yes.
And listening to them.
Yes.
And not saying, oh yes, this happened to me, and talk about your own bereavement, because that's your bereavement.
Yes.
They need to talk about theirs.
Yes.
And encourage them to talk about the person who died, good memories you had of them, and so on.
Right.
Because nobody can take the memories away.
Yes. So actually being willing to talk about it, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
And empathise.
Yeah.
With the fact that it's a really difficult, tough time.
Yeah. I always think grief is a little bit like a club that you don't know exists until it happens to you, and then you know. Okay.
And what about Cruse then? How would volunteers help someone? What do you think brings people to that, want that extra support, if you like?
It's a good question. Well over 80% of people don't need Cruse.
Yeah.
Most people manage with their friends and their family and their support networks. So it tends to be the more complicated situations like suicide and so on. There's a lovely quote I just wanted to read. It's by a lady called Alice Jolly. And she said, I didn't need flowers or food or positive thinking. All I wanted was for people to look my pain in the face.
Yeah.
Now, if you've had a death where everybody in the family is affected, you may not want to talk about your own grief because you're worried about other people in your family. That might be an example where you come for a Cruse. It's your space, your time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how would people, if somebody was looking for support, how would they contact you? What would happen?
The easiest way is via the website,
right.
cruse.org.uk. But if you put Cruse in, Cruse in, you'll get there.
Yeah.
That will link. And it will also give you details of a helpline that you can phone as well.
Okay.
And then each area has their own phone number. And you'll find that on the website. So you could phone the area directly if you wanted. So there's lots of ways.
Okay. So you can just ring up, within certain times or send an email.
Yes.
And you get the response.
Yes.
And then
yes. However you contact us, we will get back to you.
Okay. And do you then get maybe teamed up with a volunteer?
Yes. If we're talking about our area and somebody say wants one-on-one support, we check that it is going to work for them, be suitable for them, and then we would they'd have to wait a while, unfortunately, because everybody's got wait lists, and then we would allocate a volunteer to them.
Okay. And what's how many sessions would you say?
Average is 6.
Average is 6 sessions.
And that's because that seems to be what clients need. Some need a few more, some need a few less.
Yes.
We're not a long-term support. We're not doing counselling.
No.
We're listening to people tell their story.
Yeah. Okay. And what about if somebody wanted to be a volunteer then with Cruse? How would they go about that?
If they go onto the website, there's a section called Get Involved. And if you click on there, it'll take you to how to register for an interest in volunteering.
Right. And would they need to do some training?
Yes, yes. The training is round about 8 days. It's varied a lot. We've had to adapt it because of COVID. And then there's a sort of an expectation that you would see at least one client, say, a week, and then you'd have supervision, and then we offer free training. So all the training is free.
Right. And the 8 days, is that over a period of time?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And at the moment, is that all online, or do you do?
It's mainly on Zoom. Cruse are being very cautious about going and doing anything in person for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But what's interesting is, as trainers, we've all discovered how to use Zoom quite effectively, and it means we don't have to wait. In the old days, we had to wait till maybe we'd got 12 people to do a course. Now we can share it across the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So, is there anything else that you'd like to kind of add, to just share about, I don't know, the experience of bereavement or the organisation?
If you tell somebody, people think, oh, that's really gloomy, you're talking about death and bereavement. But actually what you're doing with a client is you're exploring hope.
Right.
And it doesn't always work out brilliantly. Sometimes there's some problems, but generally speaking, you come away from having finished with a client and you think that that person's going to be able to live their life in the best way that they can.
Yeah.
And that's a lovely feeling.
It's wonderful, yeah. So there's a kind of real sense of being able to move on.
Yes.
Perhaps from being stuck sometimes,
Yes. It's a different life.
Yeah.
But it's a life that can be very, very rewarding. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
We'll share the details, with this recording, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Right. Bye.
Bye.